Hey y'all, and welcome to Politibrawl. My name is Brian, and John Fetterman, of all people, takes a wrecking ball to The View, torching them over their terrible ideas when it came to this Schumer shutdown. Let's dive in.
You weren't critical of this shutdown from the outset, saying it never should have happened, never should have come to this, even at times criticizing your own party. So I want to ask you, why did you ultimately decide to support this agreement? And where do you stand on the growing number of Democrats who are calling for Leader Schumer to step down in light of the shutdown deal?
Oh, there's a lot there. Well, first of all, it's not like I agreed to that. I mean, I've been consistently. Now, remember, this all that went back to March. I effectively kind of led the charge now that it's wrong to shut our government down. And then enough of us realized that that's just too risky and that's too much chaotic. And then we kept it open. And I know there was a lot of backlash for that. And I declared back then, we'll be right back in the end of September. And I will be there too, because it's fundamentally the wrong thing. When you're confronting mass chaos, I don't think you should respond with more chaos or fight with more chaos. It's like, we need to be the party of order and logic and now respond in a way. And now I refuse to weaponize the SNAP benefit for 42 million Americans, that rely on feeding themselves and their family, or making flying in America less safe. Or I refuse not to pay our military and all of the unions attached to all of this and people. So for me, it's like I don't agree with that tactic to respond to the circumstances that we're confronting on this.
And can I just follow up? Is Leader Schumer, in your mind, the right leader for this moment for Democrats?
I'm saying that it's like that's not really my concern right now. It's not like a leadership situation. It is, we are living in the backlash of the election. It's been effectively a year now. America decided to put us in the minority. And now in terms of leadership right now, what defines leadership for me? I think that's order and logic. And now voters are going to respond to more order and the more kinds of not violating our core values to plunge our country into chaos for 42 million Americans. Food security, that's really parts of the essence of the kind of people that I fight for. Now we have to be able to disagree on these things. And if you can't, and now as a committed Democrat that vote 90% of the Democratic line, that might be a bigger problem with our party in some way, that a committed Democrat from the most difficult and purple state in the country says, hey, I'm trying to call balls and strikes in the middle of this chaos.
Well, Senator Bernie Sanders said the vote was a horrific mistake. Governor Gavin Newsom called it pathetic and a surrender. Poll after poll found more Americans on both sides of the aisle blaming Republicans. Even Marjorie Taylor Greene blamed the GOP. As you mentioned, Democrats had big wins last week, so you had momentum. Why give in now? Why bring a butter knife to a gunfight? Are you willing to gamble that the GOP will negotiate on health care in good faith once the government reopens? Because if that gamble is wrong, 500,000 Pennsylvanians that you represent, their health care costs will skyrocket if you are wrong. And I believe you are wrong.
Well, first of all, and I don't need a lecture. I don't need a lecture from whether it's Bernie or the governor in California, because they are representing very deep blue kinds of populations, and a lot of those things were part of the extreme. And now remember, what really needs to win, the big win, is involving my state and other states and those things. And why have we arrived here after the election a year ago? We got to forget some of the things that cost us that election. Or now, for me, it's like, that's why I'm trying to remind people that kinds of the extremism, we can't return to those kind of things and realize we need to find a way forward. And I would like to, rather than cite MTG, I'm going to cite one of the new governor-elects saying that my election is not a green light to continue the shutdown, because I promise you, this isn't a political game. It is viewed by many of us, but the reality is 42 million Americans now not sure where their next meal is going to come from, and because we vote like that.
I cannot believe the current timeline I'm in where I'm thankful for guys like John Fetterman. 3 years ago, he was persona non grata because he was the best guy when it came to trolling Republicans and MAGA. And now he's one of the more sane people on the Democrat side. That, on one hand, is a good thing that we have a sane Democrat. On the other hand, it means that the Democrat Party wanted to hold Americans hostage. It means that they were perfectly fine with saying that the 42 million people who needed SNAP benefits or were on it, yeah, we're going to use you as leverage. Hey, y'all. If you want to drop a few extra pounds, boost energy levels, or just reduce swelling to your hands and feet, then you're going to love these two American-made supplements. The first is Liver Health Formula. Fat deposits in the liver can really pile on the pounds and make you feel tired. Liver Health Formula helps remove that excess fat with natural ingredients like artichoke extract and milk thistle. In a customer survey, 60% reported better weight management and 87% reported more energy. And the next is lymph system support. The natural ingredients in lymph system support helps gently flush out fluids and toxins out of the body, which can reduce swelling in the legs and feet. And right now, for a limited time, you can get 35% off Liver Health Formula and lymph system support, along with over 45 health supplements Pure Health Research has to offer. Head on over to purehealthresearch.com and use coupon code POLITI for your offer. That's purehealthresearch.com with coupon code POLITI to save you 35% on your order today. So Fetterman is either playing realpolitik or he's realized that, oh, maybe my colleagues have gone a bit too far and I carried it a little bit too far a few years ago. Then you have the whole idea of the folks here hosting The View talking about bringing a butter knife to a gunfight. What are they talking about? The whole reason Americans seem to blame the Republicans for this shutdown is because the left-stream media keeps telling them over and over and over again that this is the fault of Republicans, despite the fact that the Republicans passed a clean CR, did their jobs. They couldn't get Democrats to sign on to this. That isn't a Republican problem. You're smart enough to realize that. That's why you're here. But a whole lot of Americans are duped because of the left-stream media and the way that they'll fudge their headlines. Because their whole goal is to do something that that's basically engagement bait. I call it the unholy algorithm. As a matter of fact, I've got a whole outline on what it actually does. Sorry for the ring light, but I think this will get flipped in production. But the unholy algorithm requires you to say something that is 90% true, then entice autistic correction, fight with these people in the comments, deny any accusations of wrongdoing, blame external actors for the controversy, and then repeat the process. This gets engagement farming up like there's no tomorrow. This is how the algorithm works. It requires outrage. It doesn't require nuance. It doesn't require good takes. That's why so many YouTubers, when they go on Twitter, they'll say things that are true and correct, but the following is so minimal that it doesn't get any content. And so the left stream media understands this because they were doing it before the internet was even invented. This has been a thing that's nothing new. It's just amplified because of the internet. And I think John Fetterman realizes that this system is ugly, is morally corrupt, and the way that you have to engagement farm now isn't the way you should do business. That's why I have the takes that I do here on YouTube. That's why I take the positions that I do. That's why I go in the direction that I do, because I care about the truth. I don't care about the massive amount of turnout that I would get if I said something that was 90% correct, but I got one little thing wrong. And if I did, again, that's what the comment section is for. I hate being wrong. But folks like The View understand this principle, and they don't care about getting something 90% correct. They want the outrage. They want to manufacture their own content, and you heard the applause from that audience. These people don't know any better. We're facing a very unusual problem, where a whole lot of the American electorate is essentially captured by what Rush Limbaugh called the drive-by media. I personally call it the left-stream media. And they're smart enough to know that the people that are telling them the news are intelligent people. They are. You don't get to being on The View if you aren't good at talking, if you aren't articulate, if you aren't at least somewhat intelligent. But they also know how to make their money. They also know that their audience, and this is the big part, their audience will leave them for other TV shows if they don't stick to the left stream media enough. If they don't stick to the mainstream narrative enough. We are in a very ugly place, in part due to this unholy algorithm. And again, that's why I prefer YouTube compared to pretty much any other social media outlet. Facebook is awful. Twitter is awful. Even though Elon Musk saved it, he saved it from the left, but it's still all based around this basically rage bait. We don't get good news anymore, and people like John Fetterman, I think, have realized that. And he's trying to tell these people the truth. He's trying to get them to understand that, hey, there are some nuances when you are in government. There are times where you have to compromise. Because if you hold American people hostage for a couple of extra political points, it is ultimately a negative thing. That's why the Democrats held out the way they did. They wanted to wait till after the election so they could keep pushing their narrative and get their people out to vote. They were so terrified of guys like Scott Presler potentially flipping a state like New Jersey. They were terrified that Winsome Earl Seals could have won in Virginia. And so they manufactured a shutdown to ensure that the government voters, all out there in Nova, would end up going out to the polls, ensuring wins, and then artificially strengthening their hand. John Fetterman is looking at that and is just going, no, this is awful and it's wrong. It might get us some good things down the road, but it's setting a bad precedent. And The View just starts clucking around, quite literally. That they're mad that Fetterman is willing to cross the line. So thank you, John Fetterman. I'd like to shake your hand, but I'm like Marco Rubio. I got tiny hands. I'm a short dude. I'm only 5'6". I can't shake a hand like John Fetterman. His hands are probably the size of my face. Good grief, man. That man's built different. There's a reason that he has to wear hoodies. He can't wear suits, quite literally. But anyways, thank you to senators like John Fetterman for crossing the line and doing the right thing. I hope that the Senate keeps their end of the bargain on both sides in the upcoming debates. But I don't trust The View whatsoever in whatever they have to say. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. My name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on Politibrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. And hey, if you want to become members of the channel, get special content catered directly to what you might have missed, and it keeps us independent. It allows us to be as fast as possible getting you news you can use. Consider a couple of bucks a month. It goes a long way to keeping us afloat, because I might be the flashy center fielder, but I've got great starting pitching behind me who keeps us going in the right direction. Regardless, till next time, y'all have a good one.